Today we're going to be talking about how to get a limited driving privilege in Buncombe County. Anybody that's been charged with a DWI or implied consent offense, a lot of times there's going to be a 30-day civil revocation that goes along with that regardless of the outcome of the actual underlying charge itself. So even if the person is not actually convicted of the DWI, there will still be an initial driving revocation. And then that's generally going to happen where somebody has either refused a chemical test, so a breath or a blood test, or for somebody that has blown a .08 or greater alcohol concentration on the intoxilizer at the jail after they've been arrested for a DWI or implied consent offense. The limited driving privilege basically is what it says it is. It's limited. It doesn't allow you to drive for any purpose. It doesn't allow you to drive at any time. Basically, for errand running purposes, what are called household purposes, driving to the grocery store, to the bank, fixing a car, or going to the home improvement store, those type of things would be covered under the household purposes section, and that type of driving is allowed 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. So there's no driving on the weekends. Wouldn't be any driving allowed to and from church on a Saturday or a Sunday. Wouldn't be any driving allowed for any errand running purpose on the weekend or after 8 p.m. The other type of driving that is most important in the limited driving privilege is driving for work or school purposes. So if you're trying to get back and forth to your job, trying to get back and forth to college, high school, that is allowed per the privilege, and basically that is really allowed at any time. It's definitely allowed during standard working hours, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, but if your job or school requires night or weekend driving, then that can be covered by the privilege as well. There may be proof required that your job or school requires driving outside of standard working hours, but that typically can be obtained with relative ease. The first thing that we do in getting a limited driving privilege would be that you'd have to get what is called an alcohol assessment. That is typically a 1-hour sit down. There's a number of providers of these type of assessments in Buncombe County. The second thing that would be required would be a form from your insurance company called a DL, like driver's license, a DL 123 form. And that is basically just a particular type of proof of insurance that will be handed up along with the limited driving privilege. The pre-trial limited driving privilege is basically a 20-day privilege that would go into effect 11 days after the charge and would be valid through day 30 when you would actually be able to get your full driving privileges back per your license. So basically, the initial 30-day civil revocation for the final 20 days of that initial 30-day civil revocation, that's what that pretrial limited driving privilege is covering. So it only covers for that 20 days. After that 20 days, or really 30 days following the date of the offense or the date of the charge, the date of that 30-day civil revocation, the person has to get their driver's license back. So the process of getting the 20-day pre-trial limited driving privilege begins with filing a petition at the clerk's office. There is a form that you can pick up at the Buncombe County Clerk's office. It's a form AOC-CVR-9. AOC-CVR-9, and that form basically is the petition for a hearing on a limited driving privilege. So basically it's just the process of requesting to have a hearing on getting the limited driving privilege. If you have an attorney, the attorney will normally take care of that process himself, but you can go to the clerk's office and get this particular type of form. So you then take a copy of the actual limited driving privilege, which is a separate form. It's the same, the next in the series, AOC-CVR-10. That form can be picked up at the Buncombe County Clerk's office. That form filled out with a copy of the DL 123 and the assessment, that would be taken to court and presented to a district court judge. The district attorney at some point would call your name. You would be allowed to go up in front of the judge. Follow any instructions that are given to you by the DA or the bailiff as to where you need to stand or at what time you should approach. And as you present that to the judge, there may or may not be questions asked by the judge. If the judge does ask any questions, make sure you answer those questions honestly. Judges are not out to get you, so just be honest with them and just talk with them about the particular issues that you need covered under the privilege. Once the privilege is signed by the judge, the final step in the process would be to take the driving privilege with its attachments up to the cashier's office, and you'd pay $100 to have that limited driving privilege sent to the DMV. So basically that $100 gets paid to the Buncombe County clerk, to the cashier in Buncombe County. They will send a copy, the clerk's office will send a copy to the DMV, and the DMV will have a record that you do in fact have a limited driving privilege on file. Once that is signed and paid for, you have to keep that on you at all times, but at that point you're privileged to drive. Just make sure that you keep the privilege on you at all times in your glove box or in your wallet. It's a zero tolerance privilege. You can't have any amount of alcohol. If you're pulled over and you have a .01 breath alcohol concentration, you violated the privilege. It's as though you're not driving with a privilege. It's as though you're driving with just a revoked license. Those are the steps. If there's any questions, contact somebody at the clerk's office or call an attorney.